Week 5 of Big Brother 27 has come and gone, and for the first time this season, we actually had a successful HOH. The HOH didn't actively target their allies or push them away to the point where their allies no longer trusted them. The HOH actually targeted somebody on the other side of the house and was successful in evicting somebody who has been a huge player and has been dominating this game from the top. But how did it all break down? Well, that's why I'm here. In this video, I'm going to be recapping the events of Week 5 of Big Brother 27 and giving my updated power rankings. So with all of that preamble out of the way, it is the one and only RJ21 here. And let's get into the Big Brother 27 Week 5 recap and power ranking. Week 5 starts off with the Jack the Dipper HOH competition, and it is the iconic knockout competition, which is always fun to see. Basically, the way this competition works is 2 house guests step up to the podium and will answer a question. If you get the answer correct, you stay in the game and you choose the next 2 people who answer the next question. Get the answer wrong and you're eliminated, and your opponent will choose the next 2 house guests to step up to the podium. The last house guest standing will win and become the new head of household. Ultimately, the competition comes down to Will and Ava after Ava was literally never selected to compete in a single round and only had to compete by default. But by the end of it, Ava comes out on top and wins and becomes the new head of household. After Ava wins HOH, a lot of people are kind of sketched out because they don't really talk game with Ava. Ava has been perceived as much more of an entertainment figure rather than some sort of gamer. So with Ava coming into power, a lot of people like Zach and Vince and the people on that side really don't know where Ava's head is at. And it doesn't make it any better in the fact that Ava is saying that she doesn't want to have any one-on-ones unless she is the one who is initiating the conversation. So it's definitely making some people feel a little bit worried. Ava tells a couple people that she is going to most likely be keeping them safe. She first goes up to Rachel and says that she is going to be safe for the entire week and she can go and take a break. She then also goes up to Zach and tells Zach that he should be good, which stands for not that much time. Ava then has a conversation with Mickey where she is discussing who she should put up as potential nominees. She's thinking of putting up Keanu and Vince definitely because they are 2 pretty big targets. But she's kind of questioning who the third nominee should be, and Ava is floating around the idea of Ashley, which Mickey does not agree with whatsoever since Ashley is a number for their side. We then see Vince going on his whole apology tour and trying to draw sympathy out of everyone as he is crying to the power players on the other side of the house, in Rachel and Will, saying that he's sorry for any sort of divide he may have created in the house. But Rachel and Will are not buying it whatsoever. It is crocodile tears, it is soap opera tears, and they just don't want any part of it. We then see a conversation between Mickey, Will, and Ava, where Ava is once again talking about her nominees and how she is strongly considering Ashley as the third nominee because she doesn't really trust Ashley and she doesn't know where her head is at. But both Mickey and Will do not want that to happen. So Will throws out the idea of possibly nominating Zach because Zach is closely aligned with Vince and is on the other side of the house. But Ava is initially hesitant on that because Ava did promise that Zach was going to be good in the beginning of the week. So Ava is kind of torn, but ultimately Ava does trust her allies. So at the nomination ceremony, Ava chooses to nominate Keanu, Vince, and Zach, with Vince as the initial target. After the nomination ceremony, Zach is pissed. He is crashing out in the DR saying that he's going to win the veto, he's going to earn his safety, and even if he doesn't, he still has his $10,000 power, which so funny to see that from Zach because it's a complete 180 from what we've been seeing of him in the past. So I just love seeing this side of Zach. But eventually, Zach does have a one-on-one conversation with Ava where he expresses his disdain for going up on the block, saying he feels blindsided and betrayed by Ava, considering how Ava told Zach in the beginning of the week they were good. And this is made even funnier by the fact that Will is just in the bathroom listening in on this conversation, so it really makes the situation feel that much unserious. We then see a conversation between some of the Melting Pot members in Mickey, Morgan, and Vince, where they're talking about how bad these nominations are for their side. And Mickey is surprisingly quiet in this situation, which makes her other alliance members really suspicious of her because they know that Mickey is very close with Ava, yet 2 of their members are up on the block. So they're starting to assume that maybe Mickey had a hand in getting them nominated. Ava then has some conversations with her nominees. Ava first talks to Keanu and says that even though we had that big fight, it doesn't really matter to me, and in all honesty, you're not even my target, which is going to be great news for Keanu. Ava then has a conversation with Vince, where Vince is once again pulling the sympathy card, talking about how he doesn't really think he should be the target and how he feels really bad being up on the block and bad for kind of isolating Ava. And Ava is perceptive to this, but in all actuality, Ava is still targeting Vince. We then get a hilarious game of telephone that actually makes the week a lot more interesting, we see a conversation between Morgan, Will, and Ashley where Morgan is talking about how she doesn't really respect Ava's nominations because she thinks it's a bad move to put up such strong players. Ashley and Will then take this information and go to Mickey and tell Mickey that Morgan is leaking this information. So then Mickey goes to Ava and says what Morgan has been saying, thinking that, oh, this is just something to be wary of. But Ava goes full tilt onto this, saying that if the veto is used, Morgan is going to be the replacement nominee. And this is the exact opposite of what Mickey wanted to happen. Mickey only wanted Ava to be aware of what Morgan was saying, not actually targeting her. So this sends Mickey into a full-blown panic. We then pick players for the veto competition, where the HOH and Ava, the three nominees in Keanu, Vince, and Zach, and Will and Katherine, who were selected by a random draw, are all going to compete. And this week's veto competition is called Elusive Target, and it's the iconic prize swap comp. Yet another iconic comp we're getting in just this week alone, and I was so excited to see it because I love seeing these punishments. For this veto competition, the house guest will have to study a board, but then after a couple seconds, the board will disappear. The house guests then have to slide their disc on the board and land it in one of the point values. If it lands on multiple spots, it'll go to whichever point value is the highest. Whoever gets the lowest score in every round is eliminated, but it's not all bad news because if you are eliminated, you get to choose a prize. And if you are eliminated in the later round, you get to choose either to keep your prize or trade it for one of the prizes of the previously eliminated house guest. Whoever ends up with the Power of Veto prize will win the Golden Power of Veto. We do see some really heartwarming moments, particularly between Will and Zach, where Zach gets this London trip, and he knows that if he takes the Golden Power of Veto, he's going to get a punishment anyways. So he decides to take one on the chin and gives his London prize to Will, showing how selfless and kind-hearted that Zach is. And it really was just such a heartwarming and sincere moment that shows just how kind Zach truly is. Ultimately, the competition comes down to Katherine and Vince, with Katherine coming out on top and winning, but she still has a choice to make of either taking the $5,000 or taking the Golden Power Veto. And Vince is begging and pleading, asking Katherine to choose the $5,000 so he can keep the Power Veto because he needs it. And he's been applying for a decade and he needs to be here so bad. But Katherine doesn't care because she's an ice queen. So Katherine takes the Golden Power Veto away from Vince and earns herself a Golden Power Veto. After the veto competition, all three nominees somehow ended up with different punishments. Vince got the egg detective punishment, which is basically him wearing a giant egg costume for the entire week. And it is absolutely massive. Like, he can't even go into the bathroom wearing the costume on. Like, it is massive, and it's just so funny to watch. Keanu got the butler punishment, where he has to wear a butler outfit with an absolutely massive butt. And he has to serve all the other house guests pigs in a blanket whenever he is told to. It's so funny. It's genuinely like one of the funniest costumes that Big Brother has ever made. And I was laughing so hard at it, especially Keanu, since he was really going in for the bit. Finally, Zach got the partners in crime punishment, where he and a house guest of his choice would have to steal money. Zach ends up choosing Rachel, and their punishment is that they have to take a bag of money from a safe and open it. If it is actually a bag of money, they get to keep going on. But if it's a fake bag of money, they get blasted with blue dye, have to go take a mugshot, and then sit in jail until the cops go away. It is an absolutely grueling punishment that they only had 12 hours to complete. And this went on the entire night. And by the end of it, they were both miserable. But ultimately, they did get their punishment done. We then see a conversation between Ashley, Will, and Rachel, where Ashley is relaying some information about how some house guests, particularly Mickey and Morgan, only want to take Rachel deep into the game just so she can be on the jury. And Rachel does not like this news whatsoever because Rachel is there to win. And if Rachel does end up going to the jury, that's just even more time she has to spend away from Brendan and her children. And she does not want to do that. So when Rachel and Morgan are having a conversation about what to do for the week, Morgan talks about the checkpoint of jury. And this sends Rachel into a tailspin as Rachel absolutely pops off on Morgan, saying that they need to put a crown on her name because she's just a newbie and Rachel is the vet here and Rachel's just not here for jury. She's going to be in those final two chairs. And this is genuinely the first fight that Rachel Rylie has actually won, not just in this season, but in her entire Big Brother career, which is honestly kind of embarrassing for Morgan. This interaction gets even funnier because after this fight, Rachel then goes to Katherine and tells Katherine what Morgan has been saying about wanting to split up the showmans, which fully gets Katherine to go against Morgan. So Katherine and Ava have a conversation in the HOH room where Katherine floats around the idea of possibly using the power veto to take one of the nominees off just so Morgan can go up so she can be the one evicted by the end of the week. And Ava does strongly consider this, and Heike wants this to happen, considering the whole Morgan talking down on Ava and her nomination. Ultimately, at the veto ceremony, Katherine, for the first time this season, chooses not to use the power of veto, leaving Keanu, Vince, and Zach as the final nominees going into the blockbuster. After the veto ceremony, we do see some interesting strategy talk. We first see Mickey and Ashley talking about what to do with the vote, and Mickey is talking in a super condescending tone to Ashley, telling Ashley that she can get the votes and it's only 6 and she can control it however she wants. And she's acting kind of like a dictator, and this really rubs Ashley the wrong way because Ashley is there to play her own game. We then see a conversation between Zach and Mickey where Zach is talking about the votes with Mickey and asking if he has a chance of staying. And Mickey basically tells Zach that there is a very high chance that Zach is going to be going home. And Zach is so sad because he could have activated his $10,000 power to save himself, but instead he chooses not to because he didn't want Morgan to go up on the block. And Zach is just regretting his decision wholeheartedly because he could have been saved and now his game is truly in danger. So, because his game is in danger, Zach goes to Morgan and tells Morgan about his secret power that he hasn't told anybody in this game up until this point. And this information makes Morgan strongly consider keeping Zach in the game. We then get to the Jumbo Gemstones blockbuster, which is essentially a modified version of the Tower of Hanoi. Basically, the HouseGuests have to move these gems onto their color corresponding podium. Whichever HouseGuest can move all of their gems onto the correct one and hit their buzzer will win the blockbuster and earn their safety. This competition isn't that hard considering it's a Tower of Hanoi, so if you know how to do it, it should be pretty simple to do. But the music and the time just made these HouseGuests look really, really dumb. Like, they really do look like a bunch of bros and meatheads because they were taking a long time to solve this puzzle. But ultimately, by the end of it, Keanu comes out on top and wins the blockbuster, earning his safety, leaving Vince and Zach as the final nominees. We don't actually see a lot of strategizing in this time, as it just seems to be a lot more just tearful goodbyes between the likes of Zach and Vince, because this means that one of the two of them is going to be going home. And after some last minute pleading, come the live vote. By a vote of 8-2, Zach is the 5th HouseGuest to be evicted from the Big Brother house.
Can you lean forward just a little bit?
Yeah. Is something...
What? Why didn't you use it?
Now it's time to get to the power rankings. At number 13, the most recently evicted HouseGuest, we have Zach. And remember how last week I was talking about how Zach is the most well-insulated player in the game, and even if he does go up on the block, he's safe because he has his $10,000 power, and there's no way he isn't going to use it, right? Right? Well, guess what? I was wrong because I had way too much faith in Zach as a player. This is going to go down as one of the dumbest moves in the history of Big Brother. This is Marcellus not using the Golden Power Veto to save himself in Big Brother 3. This is just absolutely crazy. Zach had this power to guarantee his safety, guarantee himself off of the block, and guarantee that he's going to be there for another week. But instead, he chooses to hold it because he's just too nice. I think that's just the bottom line of what Zach is as a player. He's just too nice for the game of Big Brother. He doesn't have that killer instinct or that cutthroatness to really make a huge move that he needs to. He needed to use that safety to save himself, but instead he was thinking too much about his allies, particularly Morgan, and how he didn't want them to go up on the block. And because of that, he suffered the ultimate consequence in getting sent home. And it's really sad to see it because Zach actually had a really good trajectory in this game. I mean, he was set up to go super far into this season, but because he was so selfless and wanted to keep his allies safe over himself, he chooses to not use his power. And it's such a dumb move, but on all honesty, I can kind of understand where he's coming from. And at the end of the day, he gets to go home with $10,000. So is there really any harm or foul in this? Yes, I mean, because he is evicted from the house, but that's besides the point. In terms of Zach's game, it was actually really, really good. Zach is, I believe, far and away the best pre-juror we've had up until this point. He was absolutely dominating this game from the top. He was so well liked by everybody. His social capital was huge. He had so many connections with everybody, and everybody really liked him. And it's just really unfortunate to see all of it crumble because he's just too nice. I genuinely wasn't expecting Zach to go home this week. I think he was set up to go really far into the season, but ultimately, Zach just got sniped out because he was too nice and cared too much about his alliance, which is why he's here at number 13.
I'm so heated right now. Like, I'm trying my hardest not to crash out.
America, look at me in the eyes right now. I'm winning this veto and I'm staying safe this week. But if not, I still have my secret power of $10,000 where I can buy myself safety.
Now it's time to get into the power rankings. At number 12, the HouseGuest I believe to be in the worst position in the house is Morgan. And it's kind of shocking to have Morgan down here, considering that Morgan has been running this game strategically throughout these past couple of weeks. But with Zach going home and her alliance essentially being outed as the biggest targets in the house, Morgan is in a lot of danger. A lot of people are targeting Morgan because she is such a huge strategic threat, and she's really rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. The likes of Ava and Katherine and Rylie really want to target Morgan because Morgan has been so openly against them, and Morgan has been talking about wanting to get them out, and Morgan has been so sloppy in her gameplay that all of these people want to target Morgan. She is a prime target to where if somebody like a Will or Katherine or Rylie were to win HOH, Morgan is in huge trouble. And unfortunately, she doesn't have any shields in front of her anymore to keep herself safe. If Vince was on the block next to Morgan, Vince has already proven that he can rally the votes to keep himself safe. So that puts Morgan in a whole lot of trouble. Even if Morgan is sitting on the block next to Mickey, it's going to be a closer vote, but I genuinely believe that Morgan would go home in that instance. And with Zach gone, there is no more shield in Zach in front of Morgan, which leaves Morgan that much more vulnerable. It is such a satisfying fall from grace to see in Morgan's game, and it is a little bit evil for me to say that, but seeing how cocky and arrogant Morgan has been getting in these past weeks with how she has been quote-unquote running the game, it is so satisfying to see her now be forced to play from the bottom. And she is 100% on the bottom, which is why I have her here at number 12.
Mickey, are you seeing what I'm seeing? 2 of our melting pot is on the block. How come I'm getting nothing from you? Did you talk to Ava and maybe sway something?
At number 11, I have Mickey. And it's weird having Mickey this low, all things considered. On paper, she should be in a great position. I mean, she has her trio with herself, Will, and Ava. She has a really good tie with the likes of Ashley and Rachel. And she has the melting pot alliance with herself, Vince, and Morgan. So Mickey should be in a good position. If it weren't for the fact that Mickey rubbed all of her allies the wrong way this week. Mickey has been acting like a dictator ever since her HOH reign. She's been super cocky and arrogant and condescending towards everybody. She's acting like everybody's going to bend to her will and do whatever she says because she is the one who is in control. She is telling about everybody, I can rally those votes together. I can get 6 votes. That's easy. When it's like, you shouldn't be saying that things are easy in the Big Brother house because it's going to come back to bite you. And because Mickey has been talking down to all of her allies, nobody really trusts her. And everybody is saying that they are targeting Mickey. And that is honestly so bad for Mickey's game. I mean, she was in a prime position earlier in the season to absolutely run things. But ever since her HOH, she's just been super mean for like no reason. Like, tell me why you're saying you're gonna embarrass Rachel in front of Brendan and her kids on national television and act like you don't know who Rachel Rylie is. Like, are you being serious? Like, do you know who you are? Like, do you know who Rachel Rylie is? You can't be talking to her like that. So the fact that Mickey has gotten so cocky in these past weeks, ever since her HOH reign, she's been rubbing everybody the wrong way. And now a lot of people are targeting her, which is why she's here at number 11.
I don't know what is going on right now. We've got Detective Humpty Dumpty over there giving them the 3rd degree. It's just another day at Hotel Mystere.
At number 10, I have Vince. And I'm now starting to realize just how high variance of a player Vince is. Truth be told, I do think Vince is a very good player, all things considered. But when Vince is in a position of power and he's on the top and nobody's really threatening his position, he can run things. And we've seen that in numerous weeks at this point. But when Vince is on the bottom and he's forced to scrap to save himself, he goes into full-blown panic mode. He's crying and he's just talking about how, I guess I'm just the worst ally, and I guess it is my fault that I divided the house, and it's just, I guess I'm just the worst, and I haven't been playing this game that well. Could you please save me? It's just so pitiful, and it's just really kind of embarrassing to see Vince act like this, especially in his egg costume, which kind of makes it funny in an ironic sense, but that's besides the point. Vince is in a lot of danger. Now that Vince's position has been publicly outed by this whole Ava HOH, Vince is in a really precarious position. He just lost one of his closest allies in Zach, and it's very likely that if he or one of his allies doesn't win HOH, he's not only going to be on the block again, but he's going to be the primary target again. And that is really bad for Vince. Now, I will say there is a glimmer of hope for Vince, considering the fact that he does have this possibility to build this new majority alliance around him. He could rally himself with the likes of himself, Mickey, Morgan, Keanu, Kelley, Rylie, and Katherine, and that could be a huge alliance for him. But his position is just so precarious and so fragile, I don't have a lot of faith in him, which is why I have him here at number 10.
If I'm on the block Thursday, I'm going home.
I want this more than anybody. Take the money. I need the veto.
At number 9, I have Keanu. And it's weird having Keanu this high. Like, truth be told, Keanu is still not playing the greatest in the world. Like, yes, he did play better this week, but he's nowhere playing like a quote-unquote good game. So it's still weird to have Keanu this high, but in all honesty, his target level has actually diminished. Like, when he said in the beginning of the season that he's going to make his target so big that it's not even worth taking him out, I was just like, oh, every combi says that. They're just saying that just to say that. But it actually worked for Keanu. Like, because Keanu has been constantly nominated and has been constantly winning these competitions to keep himself safe, people are now starting to view Keanu as an asset that they can use. People are going to perceive Keanu as a weapon that they can use to take a shot at other people in the house. And I think if Keanu can actually amass that position and take a huge shot at a power player, I think that's going to benefit Keanu a lot. Like, if Keanu were to win HOH and take a shot at like Mickey or Morgan, that is going to be huge for his game. Like, absolutely huge. Now, the biggest issue is that Keanu is still a target. Like, yes, people view him as a more valuable asset, but he is still kind of an easy person to put up on the block if somebody wants to have a bit more of a safe HOH. Now, to be fair, at this point in the game, I don't think anybody wants to have a safe HOH because both of these sides are just throwing grenades at each other. But I think if somebody does want to take an easy route out, like if they need somebody to fill a spot or if they need a replacement nominee, I think Keanu is a very easy option. And that does have me a bit worried. But because of Keanu's comp wins, I have faith that he can keep himself safe. So while he is in a bit of danger, there is some upside to his game, which is why I have him here at number 9.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to win the veto, so I'm going into my first BB blockbuster. But, and it is a big one, I've saved myself before, and I'll save myself again.
At number 8, I have Rachel. And Zach going home is not the best case scenario for Rachel's game, but it's still a good scenario nonetheless. Rachel needed somebody from that other side, somebody who's a part of the melting pot to go home in order for Rachel to have even a chance at doing well in the season. And Zach going home is huge for her. It would have been better if Vince went home, but Zach going home is still going to be a net positive for Rachel. Rachel has a really, really solid backing around her with the likes of Ava and Ashley and Will. Like, Rachel now has all of these allies that she can work with. Plus, she put in really effective work in picking up the likes of Kelley and Keanu, who now actively want to work with Rachel. And this is going to pay off huge for Rachel as long as she doesn't get unlucky with an HOH result. Rachel is in one of these positions where she is relatively safe, but if the wrong person wins HOH, she's a huge target. Like, if Vince wins HOH, she is most certainly screwed. She's either going to get backdoored or she's just going to get put up straight up and be told, you are my target. And that is really bad for Rachel, as if she's on the block come eviction night, I don't know who can stay away from that and not want to take that huge shot, because come on, it's Rachel Rylie and she's on the block vulnerable. So why would people not want to take a shot at her? And that does make me worry for Rachel. So even though Rachel does have a solid backing around her, she also has some people who really do want to target her and get her out of this game, which does make me really worried over her, which is why I have her here at number 8.
Honestly, I think it's the nicest jail that... Wait, I can't say that.
At number 7, I have Ashley. And I have to give huge props to Ashley. Like, the fact that she was able to get all of the suspicion off of her for that rogue vote to keep Jimmy was actually genuinely impressive. Like, everybody immediately assumed that, oh, it was Ashley who cast that vote. But Ashley did, but she was able to successfully shift that blame off of herself onto Vince somehow. And it was actually working for that first half of the week. And I think that definitely contributed to Vince being the initial target at the beginning of the week. So I have to give huge props to Ashley for that. And adding on to that, Ashley was doing a lot of good work this week. Ashley did an amazing job in strengthening her relationships. She got a lot closer to the likes of Mickey and Morgan, to the point where now Mickey and Morgan are trusting Ashley and saying that, oh, you should start separating yourself from Rachel, in order to protect yourself. And Ashley is acting like she's taking this information, but she's immediately running back to Rachel and telling her that everything that the other side is saying. And Ashley is now in this actually really surprising middle position between these two sides, to where both of them perceive Ashley as a number that they can use. And in all honesty, they both think that they can trust Ashley, when in all actuality, Ashley is only truly loyal to the likes of Rachel and Will, which is super, super impressive, all things considered. Like, after how seemingly socially unaware Ashley has been on a personal level, game-wise, Ashley has had near perfect reads on basically everything going on in this house. And if Ashley can correctly utilize and weaponize all this information to her favor, this is going to be an amazing, amazing time for Ashley. I just worry that she is going to get put up as a pawn. If somebody like a Vince were to win HOH, that does make me a bit worried for Ashley, because Ashley could just be collateral damage of a primary target winning the veto, and Ashley's just left up on the block and they have nobody else to take out. So that does make me worried about Ashley, but I think Ashley's good work that she put in this week is putting her in a much safer position, which is why I have her here at number 7.
Everyone thinks it's me. Oh my gosh. I'm about to get evicted.
At number 6, I have Kelley. And if you think I was surprised at having Keanu at number 9, how do you think I feel about having Kelley at number 6? I was ragging on Kelley's game in these past weeks, talking about how Kelley's only purpose in this game is to be somebody who's constantly on the block and somebody who's depended on to win either a veto or a blockbuster, and she's only valued as somebody who's just going to be eternally sitting on the block. But now that Kelley's not on the block, people are actually seeing Kelley as, you know, a player and a person and somebody that they can actually align themselves with. Kelley is no longer just somebody they can just put up on the block because it's easy. People are actually really starting to value Kelley as a number. The likes of Katherine and Rylie and Vince are really trying to repair their relationships with Kelley and closely align themselves with her. So that puts Kelley in a really powerful swing position. Kelley is now one of these votes in the middle because she isn't closely aligned with either of these sides. She's one of these votes that people need to pick up in order to be successful in this future. Kelley is a number and a vote that everybody is jockeying to try and get. And honestly, that spells really well for Kelley, because if Kelley is in that swing vote position, why would anybody want to take her out? Now, the issue I do have is the fact that Kelley still has a bit of that pawn status alongside her. I mean, Kelley has been on the block pretty much every single week until this past week. So who's to say somebody's going to just start that streak all up over again? So I am worried for Kelley in that sense, but I do think that the good work Kelley put in making herself seem like a more valuable asset for people to pick up is paying off for her very well, which is why I have her here at number 6.
I'm feeling so vindicated, so happy to be here. I'm a cockroach. You can't kill me. This is amazing. Can't kill this bitch. I'm sorry.
At number 5, I have Katherine. And first and foremost, let me sincerely apologize to you, Katherine, about your relationship with Rylie. I genuinely thought it was a one-sided beast mode stalker type thing with Rylie, but it seems like Katherine actually does have genuine feelings for Rylie. So, Katherine, if you ever watch this, I do sincerely apologize for what I've been saying about you and Rylie in your relationship. Now, back to the game. Katherine winning the Golden Power veto was huge this week. People were just looking at Katherine as an easy pawn that they can just put up on the block. But now that Katherine has won a power veto, people are starting to take her a lot more seriously. She's no longer just Rylie's +1 and somebody that Rylie's protecting. Katherine is now starting to be perceived as her own player. And because of that, people are now starting to actively want to align with Katherine. They're not just aligning with Katherine because, oh, they need her as a number. Like, no, people genuinely want to work with Katherine. And that is huge. I mean, the fact that Katherine is now actually being respected and actually talked to in these game conversations, like, this is buying Katherine a lot of social capital. And I'm honestly kind of proud of her. Now, I will say, Katherine becoming a player and starting to be perceived as a player is a double-edged sword, because while she is now a valuable asset, people are going to start viewing her as a threat. If somebody like a Mickey or Morgan were to win HOH, there's no doubt in my mind that Katherine would most likely go up on the block, which is certainly not good, all things considered, and it would definitely make somebody like a Rylie really mad at the whole situation. But in all honesty, Katherine has now proved that she can win a competition. So if it is something a bit more equitable or something that isn't so physically based, I do think Katherine has a really good shot. If there is a future HOH competition like the Wall, I'm kind of expecting Katherine to do pretty well considering her smaller stature and how that typically benefits people on the Wall. But considering the past winners we've had for the Wall, maybe that's not so true. But I digress. I think Katherine's building herself to be in a really good position, and people are starting to value her a lot more. And I think that's going to pay off for her really well in the future, which is why I have her here at number 5.
I appreciate Rylie, but I would like to be valued on my own. I needed this to prove I am a competitor in this game. This is what's important to me, winning.
At number 4, I have Rylie. And Rylie, even though Katherine likes you, I'm still on the fence about you, all right? You got to chill out on some of the things that you're doing. Like, why were you humping Vince when his egg costume? Like, that was, what? That was so out of pocket, but that's besides the point. In terms of like the game sense, Rylie's actually doing a lot of good work. People are no longer just looking at Rylie as somebody who's just like, if you take a shot at me, I'm gonna take a shot at you back. Like, no, people are actually looking at Rylie like a real player. And to be honest, people are kind of scared to go after Rylie. Now, why are they scared to go after Rylie? Who knows? I personally think it is because Rylie is such a hothead and he has shown that he is willing to get active as soon as somebody makes an action or a move against him. But that's besides the point. Rylie is somebody that not a lot of people actually want to actively target in the game, and that puts Rylie in a relatively safe position. I can't think of anybody in the house right now who would benefit or even imagine putting Rylie up on the block because Rylie is somebody that the whole house actually really, really likes. Rylie is somebody that the house really values as a number, and with him winning that past HOH, people view him as a competitor as well. Somebody that can be picked up and be a valuable number for their side. The likes of Mickey and Morgan have been doing a lot of active work to try and get Rylie on their side. And with this past vote going their way, maybe Rylie is leaning more towards that side. But Rylie is still suspicious of the likes of Morgan because Morgan has expressed that sentiment of wanting to go after the showmans. So even though they think they're picking up Rylie, Rylie is actually making moves against them, which is actually proving to be really, really good for him. So all in all, I think Rylie's in a really, really safe position. And if he wins one of these next upcoming HOHs, he could completely flip things in his favor to make himself in a very, very powerful position, which is why I have him here at number 4.
So I know my queso. I see him going from the queso to salsa and then queso, queso, queso. And then I'm like, okay, so see.
At number 3, I have Lauren. And Lauren has been invisible. She has gone like, what, 5 episodes now without getting a single confessional or diary room session? That is genuinely insane to me. Like, Lauren is taking under the radar to the next level. She is literally invisible. Like, I'm pretty sure some people in the house actually forget that Lauren is there because of how low-key and under the radar she is playing. And in all honesty, with how chaotic this house is being, that is playing into her favor a huge amount. Like, nobody is actively going after Lauren because who would benefit from going after Lauren? Now, I will say, Lauren was in a bit of danger this week. Lauren was the 5th nominee, to where if one of the initial nominees came off and Morgan was put up and Zach used his power, then Lauren was going to be that replacement nominee, which is definitely bad, but that was like a worst case scenario. So the fact that Lauren is so low on people's totem poles of nominations, that is spelling really, really good for Lauren. Lauren is on nobody's radar. Nobody wants to go after Lauren. If anything, the only reason Lauren would go up on the block is because she's just a pawn and somebody to take away voting numbers from the melting pot side of things, like a Vince or a Morgan. So in all honesty, I do think Lauren playing this low-key and this under the radar and staying this invisible is paying off huge for her. And if she can continue doing this while making some big moves along the way and making herself actually like seen as a player and somebody who could win this game, Lauren could actually go the distance. But as of right now, I'm feeling pretty good about Lauren, which is why I have her here at number 3.
She forgot she could do that. She said.
At number 2, I have Will. And Will played so well this week. Will is a master of getting information and then saying nothing about it. Like at the beginning of the week where he learns that Ashley is the hinky vote to keep Jimmy, he says nothing about it. And that buys huge, huge favor from the likes of Ashley. Will is then also staying silent about other people's business, and it just makes Will that trustworthy of a figure to where people view him as kind of a vault, somebody that they can tell information to and they can trust him to keep it safe. The thing is, though, is that Will isn't exactly as safekeeping of secrets as it might appear. While he did keep Ashley's secret, he 100% leaked the whole thing about what Morgan was saying and is 100% against some of the things that Mickey has been saying. So Will is showing that even though he is being perceived as this loyal figure, he's willing to play cutthroat and he's willing to turn on people. I mean, he is pretty much the sole person who turned Ava to nominate Zach in the first place. And honestly, I'm super impressed by Will, and I'm super excited to see that he is actually performing super well. I think Will benefits a lot, and I mean a lot, from Ava being HOH because he isn't the one directly making the moves. Yes, he is in the HOH room drinking all the wine and just partying it up with Ava, but Will isn't the one who's directly putting these people up on the block, and because of that, it's not making Will as threatening of a target. In the beginning, people perceived Will as just being expendable and somebody who can go up on the block as an easy pawn. But now that Will is actually in these positions of power where he is adjacent to the people who are winning these competitions, that is doing huge, huge things for Will because he has a lot of influence and sway in getting the people he wants out of the house actually to go out of the house. Like, it is actually so, so impressive what Will has been able to do under Ava's HOH. And if Will can continue this momentum without getting sniped out of the game through being a pawn or somebody that wants to have an easy HOH, I think Will is going to be doing very, very well this season. And I can see Will going super far, which is why I have him here at number 2.
My first thought was like, nah, I don't want to eat anything off Keanu's butt. I've turned the corner on the pigs in the blanket, and my favorite, dipping sauce is the honey mustard. Kiss to the chef.
At number 1, the house guest I believe to be in the best position in the house as of week 5 is Ava. And I would like to sincerely apologize to Ava and all of the Ava stands out there. I am sorry for ever doubting Ava. Ava, you are 100% back on my clientele list because you absolutely killed it this week. Ava is so far the best HOH of the entire season, and it's not even close. Ava is the only HOH who actively targeted a huge threat on the other side of the house. Ava's been the only person to actively build trust through her HOH. She didn't actively turn away her allies and make them not trust her. Even though Ava was isolating the people who weren't on her side, Ava was doing a very, very good job in building the social capital with the people super close to her, to where they are now undyingly loyal to Ava. Like the likes of Will and Mickey and Ashley and Rachel love Ava, and they want to protect her with everything in their body. Now, I was initially considering putting Ava lower because there was a possible threat of Ava going up on the block. Because with Ava making this huge move against people like in the melting pot, who's to say if somebody like Vince wins HOH, he could easily put Ava up on the block. And the main pushing that narrative was Zach. But Zach is out of here because Ava was able to get him out, even though that might have not been her initial intention. But still, the main person who was wanting to target Ava and Zach is now out of here. So there's only really one person really pushing that narrative, and it's Vince. But there's so many people actively against Vince that nobody's really going to listen to what Vince has to say, at least at this point. So all in all, Ava is in a great position to keep moving forward. Sure, she might get put up on the block, but people value her so much as a number and an ally, and she's so respected because she was able to make this huge move that people are now starting to perceive her as an actual jury threat. Like somebody who could genuinely go on to win this game. And while that could be something that's bad for Ava's game, I see it as a positive because people are now starting to respect Ava and put respect on her name beyond just being a funny, entertaining character. And because she's been able to do so well this week with her HOH, I have to put her here at number 1.
I already lit a fire this week. I'm just gonna start roasting marshmallows. You can talk from the block. Girl, bye.
Overall, this is the type of drama and entertainment that I was asking for. I love seeing it when these players who have been at the top and have been running this game get undercut and undermined by some random person winning HOH and making a huge move against them. Like, I love seeing that happen. And to see it happen to the Melting Pot, which is an alliance that I'm not particularly the most fond of, to see it happen to them, particularly the likes of like Morgan and Vince, seeing them scramble was so entertaining. And I just loved reveling in all of it. Seeing their downfall was absolutely insane, and I was there for every single moment of it. Plus, it's a huge benefit to Ava, and I love Ava. So all in all, I think this was a net positive week, at least for me. But those are just my thoughts. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends if you have any of those, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.
You like that bounce? Oh.